Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer the questions that you submitted using the hashtag AskGCNTech. So I guess we'll make a start on our first one this week. First one is from James Lilly, who asks, in a tailwind section, would you go faster in an aero position or in an upright position acting like a sail on a boat would? Thanks in advance. Interesting, that one. And it kind of, in your head, you'd assume that a big tailwind section, you would want to be upright to catch as much of that wind as possible. But once you're traveling faster than what the wind speed is, it would have a negative effect anyway. So if you've got a tailwind of 15 miles an hour, once you're going over 15 miles an hour anyway, the drag that you're pushing forwards would be a greater force than what you're trying to overcome from the tailwind. So you need to focus on being aero once you're going faster than the speed of the tailwind. Pretty simple question there. And our next question is in from Karim Sabri, who asks, would you recommend tubeless or tube type tyres considering maintenance and performance? And it depends which system you're most familiar with, really, because if you're only familiar with inner tubes and tube type tyres, then that may well be the best system for you because it's very simple and easy to maintain. You haven't got any different systems to become familiar with. But if you are up for the advantages that you can gain from tubeless tyres, such as the added puncture protection, the slightly lower rolling resistance, then that is a good system to invest into. But it does require a little bit of maintenance, a bit more than what you'd have with an inner tube setup, because you will have to maintain the sealant that's inside the tyres, which helps protect those from the punctures that you could face easily with inner tube setups. So the simple answer is you just need to look at the advantages and disadvantages of both systems and decide what is most important to you and make your choice from there. Next question is in from Matt Taylor, who asks, I've made the transition from rim brake to disc brakes. Do I need a winter alloy training wheel set like you would do on a rim brake to prevent wearing through his race wheel's surface in a terrible condition? So simple question, do you need to switch across from your race wheels to winter training wheels when you're using disc brakes? And the answer to that is no, there's no need to specifically do that because the braking surface is now moved onto the disc instead of the actual rim itself, so you're not going to wear that item out. So in winter, you can just use your fancy wheels that you would have saved for the summer otherwise. There's no need to worry about wearing them out any quicker than you would in the summertime. Perfect. Next question is in from Tane Kamak, who asks, do I need to do a proper bike wash once in a while when using his bike on the indoor trainer during the winter? They've heard that the sweat can be harmful to the carbon frame and the components. If yes, is it enough to just wipe the frame with towels after riding, or should I do a complete bike wash every once in a while? So if you're only riding your bike inside, the sweat that you get all over your bike can be quite corrosive, so it is important not to leave that to soak into any of the components, and it can actually ruin the finish on your paint job as well. So if you've sweated heavily over your bike, if it's been a tough workout session, then you are going to need to give that a good wipe down and clean. I wouldn't worry about washing your bike after every training session because that's really not needed. It would be a little bit overkill to take your bike outside and wash it, having only ridden it indoors. But maybe every week or so, you could just take your bike outside, give it a good wash, clean everything up, make sure everything's nice and dry and there's no corrosive sweat left on it, and that'll be keeping your bike nice and sweet. Chaz Pilks, World Bicycle Relief Ambassador. Nice question this, I think Ollie has picked this one out for me. Their question is Alex's catchphrase, it's a good question actually? And that's a good question actually. A very good question. Well, that's a good question. Well, that's a good question. Well, that actually is a good question, actually. As of last week, it appears I did say it a lot more than I realised, so I guess I need to remember not to say that one all the time. So thanks for highlighting that. Next in, we've got Benji Herring, who asks, hi, hope you're well. My question is, for a GC leader, for example, Roglic. For a GC leader such as Roglic, what's happened? Can you say it, please? Roglic. Our next question is in from Benji Herring, who asks, for a GC leader such as Roglic, how much of a difference would it be for him to ride a lightweight or aero bike? Seeing as he's surrounded by team members all of the time blocking him from the wind, should the lightweight bike make it easier for him to ride as it's not so heavy? Interesting thought that, and lots of GC leaders do tend to opt for the lightweight bike over the aero bike because the sort of main focal point of their racing tends to be the summit finishes where lightweight will win over aero, because they're going off a massive climb, going at a very slow speed, so aero has very little advantage to lightweight over those situations. And as you say, 9 times out of 10, when they're in the early sections of stages where the speed is high, they are protected by their teammates and within the peloton, so the aero bike maybe doesn't quite come into its own in those conditions. So that's why you will find many GC leaders opt in for the lightweight bike over the aero bike, and lots of their team members opt in for the aero bike to give them the best advantage of supporting them in the conditions leading up to the crucial part of the race. Next question, and I think it's our last question for this week's Tech Clinic, and it's from Miko Custodio, who asks, how often do I need to change my chain over the course of his cycling time? This really is a very vague question, and it could vary a lot for everybody. It depends how often you ride, it depends the conditions you ride in, and it depends how well you maintain your chain. If you ride in particularly gritty and dirty conditions and don't maintain your chain very well, then your chain's not going to last very long at all. But if you lubricate your chain, clean it nicely, and tend to ride in dry conditions, your chain could last a very long time. As a sort of golden rule, your average person, you could probably expect to get a year out of a chain. I think that's fairly straightforward to say. It will vary a lot depending on every single person and the use of your bike. So my best advice would be to either drop into your local bike shop, get them to check your chain over, or invest in a small chain checker tool which you could buy online and check your chain regularly to make sure it's not excessively worn. That'll sort that out. Nice. So that rounds off another GCN Tech Clinic. I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe next time when Ollie's in, I'll pick out some good questions of him. Maybe the real in-depth scientific ones. I know he'll love those. Anyway, keep the questions coming using the hashtag AskGCNTech, and we'll try and feature them in the show. See you later.